Well, thank you everyone for coming. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to talk about our Bell program. I don't want to blast anybody out, but I want to make sure people can hear me. How's the volume? Okay. Tonight I've been asked to talk about our Bell and Beyond program. And to give you a little bit of history, I first have to say that this idea was there long before even the pandemic. There was a dream to have a camp for blind kids. And our Bell program, you've been seeing videos of it tonight and seeing kids read Braille and do different things. When it started, and Bell, by the way, stands for Braille Enrichment for Literacy and Learning. And that's important to keep in mind. And it is a national program. Our National Federation of the Blind National Office helps to provide the curriculum for that program and gives us guidance. They do training to help us provide good quality education to blind and visually impaired students. And in the traditional Bell program, it's generally ages 7 through 12. No, 4 through 12, sorry. We can take them as young as 4, and we even had a little one who was 3 one time, and we got him started in Braille, and he's, I'm sure, super fantastic as a reader now as a teenager, because this kid was dynamite at the time. But we felt like we could make it better by providing a residential program, a camp program, so that kids don't just go home after their program, which is what the traditional Bell program does. It's a day program. Kids typically come from 9 to 3, and then they go home. Well, there's a lot of learning that can take place when students are in a residential program, especially if it's in a camp area, because they have to learn how to get around more difficult environments. Camps aren't usually very level, and this past year's camp, this last July's camp, had a very, very, very long hill, steep, that went straight up from the cabins to the dining hall. And kids had to learn how to manage that, and one of my students who has cerebral palsy was using his cane like he would a hiking pole. And they got after him for that, but I knew exactly what he was doing because I happen to have cerebral palsy also, and I understood perfectly well that he needed to use that to help pull himself up the hill. But it's these kinds of experiences and the fact that these kids can learn from one another and learn from blind staff, which is what we wanted to do in our Bell and Beyond camp. So beginning in 2022, we were very fortunate. We had the ability to use a camp that the Lions Club from Northern Idaho had rented because they wanted to do a camp also. And so we decided that we could make this work and take advantage of their generosity. We had students in the Bell and Beyond program that were age 7 through 17. The younger ones, by and large, we had a couple, and this has always been the possibility of having an exception to the rule. But most of the students are younger students learning Braille. Now, last year, we had an older student who absolutely loved Braille, and she was blind and had a secondary disability of autism. And so, but she was delightful to work with. She was the oldest student there, but she was still in the Bell part of the program. So, when we finally decided we were going to do Bell and Beyond, how this works is that there are basically 2 tracks in the morning for students. We have a track for students that are younger, typically, or students that need additional extra help in learning blindness skills. They are in classes in the morning, which include Braille reading, Braille writing, which I have taught every year that I've taught in Bell. The only class that I have taught is Braille writing. They learn orientation and mobility skills, in other words, how to navigate with a white cane, and they do daily living skills. I was trying to think of the name that I wanted to use. Anyway, daily living skills, how to do things, how do you spread peanut butter on a piece of bread, how do you cut with a knife and fork, how do you do all these things how do we pour water, how do we pour juice without spilling it all over the table. And the majority of our counseling staff, our staff at the camp, are people that are blind or visually impaired. We have a few sighted staff, but the majority are blind or visually impaired. The students learn by example. They learn not by people telling them what to do, but by showing them what they can do. In other words, if you have a child who says, "Oh, I can't open that milk carton because it's just too hard. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to tell which side of the milk carton to open." The tendency is, "Oh, here, give that to me. Let me do that for you." Not at Bell and Beyond. We show the child how to tell the difference. We help the child learn how to pour liquids. In fact, we had one who didn't believe he could, and one day his counselor, who was blind, poured the water. And he went, "Oh, gee, if he can pour the water as a blind guy," and, we asked him, "How'd you do that?" And the guy said, "Well, I take the pitcher, I feel the spout of the pitcher with my finger, feel where it is, feel where the lip of the glass is, and then I put them together, and then I feel that water coming up, and when it touches the tip of my finger, I know I have the glass that's full, and it doesn't spill." And so this was just really exciting that this child could learn, and they learned that they can get around. They basically learn that they can be independent campers just like sighted campers. Our camp this year was in McCall. It was a better location in as much as it was more central. We had 17 students, and again, our younger ones were mostly the ones that took the blindness skills classes. Now, when I teach Braille writing, I not only just teach, because we have people with real different levels. I mean, I had one young man who absolutely has to learn his Braille code. He's in the 5th grade, and he doesn't know most of the short forms in Braille. And so I said to him, I said, "Look, I want you to set a goal. How many of these short forms," and that means Braille isn't just writing the alphabet. We have kind of like shorthand we use to shorten Braille because it takes a lot of space, even with short forms. But he didn't know many of them, and so I said, "Well, what short forms can we learn?" And I had a list that he needed to know. And so he gave me 4. I gave him some suggestions, but he gave me 4 short forms that he wanted to learn. And by Saturday, when we left, he could do them. Now, I don't know if he remembered them until the Monday after his teacher came back, but I hope so. But that's just an example. I had one student who was going to be losing significant vision as he grew older. He'd never been exposed to Braille, so in his case, he got to just sort of experience what's it like to write Braille, what's it like to read Braille. And that was a lot of fun. We do a lot of language arts in my class, and we also have a spelling contest. And the words are appropriate to the student, and we do that every year, and they really enjoy it. Now, the younger students are doing that. Now, the older students got to do activities in the morning, like they built out of pizza boxes what were called solar ovens. And they made these treats. I think they were maybe supposed to be pizzas, and they were but they were sweet pizzas, like chocolate. And we have one of our students who's going to speak next. Maybe he can talk about those, but it was awfully good. Messy, but good. And then they made trail mix, and they made tissue flowers, and they made labels for bags. They did a whole lot of other things like that. And then in the afternoon, they had regular activities you'd have at a camp. They had water activities, and one of the things they did, this was the neatest thing, I was just amazed. They made boats, and I don't mean little boats like you might make with a block of wood with a candle, like when I was in camp and we'd send them down the lake and sing Make New Friends and Keep the Old. But no, these were boats that they were going to get in and ride around in, and the contest was for the one that didn't collapse, that stayed floating the longest. They used boxes, and they were covered with duct tape. It was really interesting. I just thought it was fascinating. So anyway, they did that, and they had lots of fun activities. We had a sports and recreation group who worked with our students in the afternoon called Awesome, and they were awesome. It was just really a fun thing for the students, and they all grew and enjoyed it and benefited greatly. We had campfire just like regular camp. We had skit night. We had talent night. We had a night where we played a game called Encore, which I liked. It was a music game where you were in teams, and the moderator would give you a theme, like transportation, and the teams would go back and forth with songs that had something to do with transportation. And the team, when they finally couldn't come up with any more, then that team lost. So it was fun, and everybody could do it, because it didn't matter whether you sang The Wheels on the Bus Go Up and Down, or if you sang Sentimental Journey, they all had to do with transportation. So it was a real kick, and I loved it, and I hope we get to do it next year. But the camp is a wonderful learning experience. It is very beneficial, and it's a great program. So that is about Bell and Beyond, and I hope that we can continue it. I think many students can benefit, and it's fun, and it's really great. So at this point in time, Sandy, do we have time for any questions that people might have? Yeah, I was going to say, I'm up here talking, and I'm wondering, are there questions? Because I'm happy to answer them.